Welcome back to today's video, and we're going to be talking about building a sales team, how to look at building a sales team, how many salespeople you even need, how many setters you're going to need, and how to train them efficiently in 2025 and beyond, because it is harder than ever to sell online. We are in a trust recession. So you have to have really good KPI-driven salespeople, really good metrics to track and follow. And 3 is you need to understand the nuances of having a sales team. So we're going to go down to the whiteboard here, and I'm going to dissect for you how I look at building a sales team and what first steps you need to first understand before you go find that first salesperson. So we are going to use you as an example. We're going to say that you are a solopreneur. And right now on your calendar, you are taking anywhere from 3 to 5 sales calls daily. And let's say each of them run half an hour. That's 1.5 to 2.5 hours. Okay, let's be realistic. Sales is driving revenue inside of your business. You don't want to just replace those 1.5 to 2.5 hours because you still have 6 to 7 more hours to help fulfill and do things throughout the day that are also revenue-driven tasks. So right now in this scenario, if you're between 3 to 5 sales calls, you don't need to find a closer. Here's where things get tricky, is that at some point, you're going to be closing. Your close rates are obviously going to be higher because you're on the phones, you're the business owner, you're the solopreneur. Then what's going to happen is, as soon as you start getting 5 to 7 calls a day, let's say, you're using more energy than ever, which is 2.5 to 3.5 hours a day. Okay. And if your closing rate is over 30% or higher and you're having 5 to 7 calls a day, you're the solopreneur. So your show rates are going to be high and translate. So there's 75%. 5 people show up, 1 to 2 close a day. That's where you can start handing that off to a closer. And this is the biggest thing that I'll say is if half your day of productivity is in sales calls, that's when you have to really get out of that and find a closer to take those calls for you. Now, here's the biggest thing that I do see in the online space is that people don't want to hand it off. So let's just go side by side, you, and then we're going to say closer. Okay, we're going to put a person here. Sorry, I'm not the best at drawing. Okay, you and your closer. You want to hire this person. Okay, this person is a really big necessity to hire. Here's things that you need to keep in mind. You need to have recording of your calls, and you have to realize that you need to have a cold traffic offer that pulls you away. And what do I mean by that? Is that you can't hand this off to a closer if the offer includes you. If the offer includes you, it's going to be harder to sell at scale. And also, if you don't have a good cold traffic offer where you have a really big brand, let's say like you're starting to build a brand, you're getting on big podcasts, people are starting to realize who you are, you can't hand that off to a closer because the closer's not you. So you need to be able to fix the messaging of your offer so that a closer can sell it without it being attached to you. Now, your closer, as far as, hey, I got to find this one person that can really take the calls off my back. Here's what I would personally do is I would split this in half and I would hire a second closer. You're probably wondering, well, Wojo, I'm only getting 7 calls a day. Why would I get 2 people? This is where I literally make them battle to find my clear winner. And you make that very clear. Hey, the 2 of you are competing and we are going to hire the best person at the end of the month. And this is where you know that you can drive this person into KPI within 30 days. Every time we've hired salespeople, we always have a second person too to let them compete and build calendar efficiency. Okay. We also, want to be able to not have key man risk. And what do I mean by that? If we have 2 closers going at each other, odds are one is going to do a little less than the other. So just in case like this guy quits, we still have someone else, right? It's not key man risk. If we just hired one person and we're putting all our time and effort and then they get fired or they quit, who do we have left? Nobody. So that's why I always recommend that you have a pipeline for hiring a sales team. So on the left here, you need to have recording of your calls, cold traffic offer that, pulls people in the offer without you being involved. The next step is that you need SOPs for your closer. So that's going to be product SOPs, onboarding SOPs, FAQs, things that the closer needs to provide a really good amount of knowledge and messaging on the call so that you don't have to keep training. Next is call reviews, and then morning huddles. Okay. This could be 15, 20 minutes with your closer, getting aligned on the day, going over your calls, and also reverting that information back to marketing. Maybe you're doing the marketing yourself or you have a media buyer or whatever that looks like. Your sales closer needs to relate information because sales and marketing work together. So the morning huddles are going to be, hey, listen, what are your calls for today? What's your show rate so far this week? How many closes? How many payment plans? Do you have any follow-ups, etc.? That's great for morning huddles. Call reviews are going to be when the closer brings that to you and says, hey, I know this call got away from me. Can we go over it? And now you can be aligned. So we talked about, the structure, hiring 2 closers, letting them battle, morning huddle, cadence, training, etc. Now comes into payments and incentives. As far as like commissions, this is the way that we structure it. We do 15% and then we have a weekly goal or a weekly KPI. And that weekly KPI is if they collect X amount of cash in a week, that percentage goes up to 20% instead. So, that's big for a business where let's say they were to collect $100K in cash that week. That's an extra 5%. That's $5,000 a week. Like that's a lot for, obviously a sales professional. So we have a weekly KPI to where if they hit X amount in cash, they get 20% commission instead of 15. Also, we have a daily KPI, and that daily KPI, okay, is an extra $100 a day per closer. So what do I mean by this? If they collect 20K a day in cash, they now each get $100 extra per day. Now let's be realistic. There's 22 working days. That would be an extra $2,200 a month to each person if they just hit the daily KPI. And that's based on your ad spend. That's based on your margins. That's based on goals. It's based on fulfillment. It's based on leadership, all these different KPIs that will come into this. And this is how you keep people motivated. On top of your KPIs, you need to have like contests. Okay, so a really good example of this is in March. Okay, we had March Madness for our sales reps and our setters. So this combines sales and setters, and I'll get into setters in a second. So basically what we did was whoever collected the most cash and whoever set the most calls that actually closed got to go to the March Madness game. Hence why I'm wearing this hat. It was congruent to the video. So I took them to the game. I was like, hey, it's March Madness. It's congruent. Whoever closes the most as a closer gets 1 ticket. Whoever's the best setter gets a ticket. And then it was the 3 of us, including me. Okay, so I took them to the game. That was a really fun experience. They had a lot of fun. And to be honest, that shit was expensive, but it was really fun. So that's, going to boost culture, morale. Like it builds a good growing environment for her to be a part of. Okay, now we come to setters. Okay, this is really important to understand. Is like what things I look for setters. Okay, 1 setter for every 2 salespeople. Okay, that's one thing that I've always seen that's worked really well. We have 2 setters and we have 4 salespeople. So 2 salespeople gets 1 setter. So that 1 setter can now send those calls every single day to 2 salespeople. The way that we pay setters is $30 for every call and then plus 30 if they show up. Like if you look in most organizations, the fastest way to boost revenue is by increasing show rate. So if the setters are incentivized to increase show rate, they're going to get double basically what they already got paid. Okay. And these calls obviously have to be qualified. If they're not qualified, then we're not going to pay them. But if they book a qualified call, $30, then it would be a total of 60 if that person were to show up. Also, we run events, so we pay $10 for every RSVP, etc. Now, what can this setter do? This setter should be able to make 200 dials plus per day. If your current setters aren't doing so, then they're not in KPI, they're not being productive, or you as the business owner are not supplying enough leads for them to actually make enough money. We have to put this into numbers here. 200 dials, right? You're going to have about a 15% pickup rate, okay, which equals 30, taken calls. 30 taken calls, 1/3 are qualified, 10 calls, right? And then from there, half should book. So that's about 5 calls a day. And that would be able to put your setter in a good place to where they can make anywhere from $6 to $10,000 a month. That's where a setter needs to be. Where do I find setters and closers? Honestly, your best closers are going to be people who either came out of a program that you have, or they're following you on Instagram, or they're on your email list. Okay, I don't go to placement agencies. I really don't agree with it because they're not like big fanboys. Like, not saying that my salespeople are fanboys, but they obviously enjoy working with me because they've seen me online for so long. They're more dedicated. Setters, we go to Upwork, we use Indeed, and then we go to my Instagram as well and email list. We try to keep within the ecosystem because odds are, if they're following me, they know something about marketing. So they're going to have a better head on their shoulders to understand brand too, and they have better messaging, and they are more passionate about the product because they know me. So that's the way that, that we look at, salespeople. Obviously, setters. The last thing I want to break down for you is ad spend, okay, versus closers. Okay, what do I mean by this? You need to really sit down and say, how much am I paying per call? In my business, I pay $180 a call, okay? I need to get them 12 calls a day. So you take 180 times 12, $2,160 per day. That means that every single salesperson that I hire, I have to now commit that every single day. So you have to add, daily ad spend to what you're currently spending to bring in a new closer. So if I go from, let's break this down even more, 2160 times 4, 8640. So 8640 per day for 4 closers. If I need to go to 5, what am I going to do? Well, every single time that I've raised my spend, I tend to see heightened costs. So now what am I going to do? I'm going to do 200 times 12, 2400 plus 8640. That means I have to be at $11,040 a day for 5 closers, and that's just in daily ad spend. And right now we spend about 14 grand a day because we run other offers and stuff, low ticket, school, etc. So it's right around my alley. That's how you got to look at it too. If you're spending $100 a day in ads and you're just the one taking calls, you have to go to $200 a day, give them a full counter instead of your half counter that you were used to. So you have to crack these numbers for, hey, I should be spending X amount of money if I'm going to go hire another salesperson. Once you have a predictable salesperson getting X amount of calls of X amount per day, then you just double the spend and get a second closer. Bring them into KPI, bring them in slowly, etc. Now, if you're wondering, I have a closer, I want to hire a second one. What should I do? Okay, so we're going to say first closer plus second. So now you have a closer who's performing. You're like, hey, I want to double my ad spend and get a second. What do I do? That first closer, we're just going to do like numbers here. Let's just say, okay, let's say they have 10 calls today. Okay, this is the amount of calls they have. And these 3 are just like not qualified, let's say. Usually we would cancel those calls, but to train the second closer, we're going to give those calls to the second closer to take. So now you can train your closer without really losing money because this person is still in KPI and this new one needs to be trained. And that's the best way to do it, is you take the unqualified calls and send them to the second closer. So I hope this breaks it down a lot for you and the things that we've done to be able to scale to the heights that we're at, doing over $1 million a month with 4 salespeople. We're always looking to hire new ones. And here's the thing too, is you have to look at it this way. If you have, let's say you had 4 closers and you have 2 setters. What's the easiest way to find a new closer is to take one of the setters, because they know the product enough to set. Now they're the next person up to close. So right now, this is our scenario, and Taylor is about to become a closer soon. So we're going to have 5 closers in one setter. We just have to hire a setter. Hiring a setter is easier than a closer. So Taylor's going to come here to where there's less churn, higher retention. So think about that too, because you want to give your setters an opportunity to become closers and build within your employee maturity model and scale with you. So yeah, with that being said, I appreciate you guys watching, and make sure you guys like, comment, and subscribe for more videos to come, and I will see you in the next video. Peace.